Hey everyone, welcome back to Educatum College. It's Celine and we'll be going through test 39 today. So today I just want to focus on comprehension on a literal sense. So for most of these questions we will have texts that already explicitly state the answer rather than us having to look around and try and deconstruct what it means in a figurative sense. So I want to focus on locating where these keywords are in the text and how these will help us answer the questions, especially if it is in a literal or physical sense. So our first extract is an album review. So it's an album review on Urban Hymns by The Verb, and it seems to be a UK band that has already gotten two albums. So their previous two albums, one of which is Be Here Now. So let's take a look at the questions themselves. So the reviewer has compared Urban Hymns with Oasis' Be Here Now because what? So I just looked at the first few sentences because I was looking for the keyword be here now. If we look at be here now in the extract I've put up on the board, it's in the last line. It states that the Be Here Now album was a little directionless, especially compared to the Urban Hymns album that was just released. So combining those ideas with the first sentence in the extract, which is this is an impossibly good album, shows that the reviewer really likes this album because it has more direction compared to Be Here Now. So essentially our answer should be A. For question 2, we have a direct quote from the extract. He's certainly a lot less obsessed with emulating the work of the Beatles implies that what? So a lot less obsessed means that they shift the focus away from, and to emulate means to give off or to imitate or mimic. So if we were to rephrase the quote, it would be, he's certainly a lot less focused with replicating the work of the Beatles. So that sentence basically says that there's less focus on the Beatles and rather there's more focus on the Verb's individual and unique writing style or songwriting style. So in this case, our answer would be D. Because there's not that much focus on their inspiration, you get more focus on who you are as a person, who you are as a writer, as an artist. So there is that sense of originality. And then for question 3, in this album, Sonnet and One Day are what? So in the last few sentences, I can actually look at Sonnet and One Day, as in I can search for those three words technically. And it states, Sonnet is a masterpiece, as is One Day and any number of others. So this is the part where the reviewer starts looking more into the specific songs and what their thoughts are on it. Because they're praising Sonnet and One Day, they're saying that they are exemplary creations. Exemplary means like amazing or above and beyond, right? Something that exceeds expectations. So please note that you guys can look for these specific words that are already stated in the question in the text itself. So that is also working on your comprehension. Here is the second text, and we'll get started after you guys finish reading it. So this is our second extract, and we'll get started on the questions. So what did the author try to hide? If we take a look at the parts where the author really tries to reflect on their identity and what's going on with them at school, which is basically them purposely failing their tests and not participating because they were embarrassed to be doing well at school. We can understand that this author is a bit insecure about their academic abilities, so that would align with C. And the reason for this is, well, because they were embarrassed to be good at their studies. They failed exams on purpose because of this. Later on in the extract, we also find out that a part of this reason is because he doesn't want to be known as Tan from Toon Gabby, or from Toonie, basically. Question 5 is a little bit more inferred rather than explicitly stated. So what is the author's background? If we look at the parts where the author decides to describe Toongabi, we realize that some people have like racially stereotyped Toongabi, specifically in the last sentence in the extract on the board. Some people thought we lived there because the poverty and flooding resembled Bangladesh. So this person says that people around him think that he's living in Toongabi because it represents like his homeland, which is like Bangladesh. So we can assume that the author's background is Bangladeshi. For number 6, question 6, sorry, who is Lynchy? These two sentences, or these two extracts I've put up on the board, they are like apart from one another. So we have to just kind of infer that these two people are the same person. So in the first extract I've put up on the board, they refer to the person as Daryl. So Daryl is someone who doesn't perform well in their studies. And in the second extract, we get Lynchy, right? Lynchy is someone who here has been eating samosas and now says they're going to ride by the creek. So we can assume that these two people are the same person because of the close relationship they have. So we can't just say like, oh, it's just another friend, because here it seems as if there's like a nickname and it's the same person considering how close they are with their mother already. For question 7, why did the teachers freak out? We can look for the keyword freak or freaks, or like with the S, like present tense. So I found that in the extract in the board, the teachers freaked and thought about sending me to counseling. And if we look at the sentence before that, I even failed a couple of exams on purpose. Okay, so because the protagonist has failed a couple exams on purpose, teachers freaked out and they also thought about sending him to counseling. So the answer would be A, because the author was failing. This is the third and final extract we have. It is about Sherlock Holmes, or it is part of the Sherlock Holmes series, and we will have a go at answering these questions after reading this extract. It is mainly about a character being invited to investigate with Sherlock Holmes. So this is the very beginning, not in the middle or end. We're just being introduced to like some new concepts, and that's really it. So let's get started on the questions. So for question 8, why was the narrator such a valued companion on the trip? So we want to look for a reason why we're inviting the narrator to the trip with Sherlock Holmes. So in one of the dialogues that Holmes says, it makes a considerable difference to me having someone with me on whom I can thoroughly rely. Local aid is always either worthless or else biased. So Sherlock himself says that he can rely on this person over local aid, because local aid is either worthless or biased. Right, so essentially the word we're looking at is rely, and that aligns with one of our answers, which is B. So why was the narrator such a valued companion on the trip? Because B, they were reliable. For question 9, why did the narrator agree to solve the Boscombe tragedy? So in the very initial scene, when the narrator is being asked to go on the trip with Sherlock Holmes, they're given reason as to go to the trip. Right? They're saying one of the characters, the wife, says that the narrator has always been interested in Sherlock Holmes's cases and activities. So if we look at, say, the fourth piece of dialogue, you look a little pale recently, I think that a change would do you good, and you're always so interested in Mr. Sherlock Holmes' cases. So there we have an explicit sentence that tells us directly, well, he is really interested in Sherlock Holmes' cases. And then afterwards, our narrator says that they would be ungrateful if they didn't go and on this trip, basically, because they've learned so much about Sherlock Holmes already. So at the end, they decide to go on the trip. So if we want to look at the answer that aligns with, that would be from C, because the narrator has already learned so many lessons about Sherlock Holmes. They would like to go to the tragedy, basically. And lastly, for question 10, Sherlock Holmes was pacing up and down the platform. What does this suggest? So for these quoted extracts, I do think that sometimes you can look at it by itself, but sometimes it's good to just have a little bit of background knowledge already. If it's something like if it's like one of the questions we answered before, where they asked us, what does this phrase mean? I don't think it's necessary in order for you guys to venture out and look at the sentence before and after. But for this sentence, Sherlock Holmes pacing up and down the platform, because there are so many reasons as to why he could be doing this, I wanted to look at the sentence before and after. So on the extract on the board, I was in a cab with my valise rattling away to Paddington Station. Sherlock Holmes was pacing up and down the platform, his tall, gaunt figure made even gaunter and taller by his long grey travelling clock and close-fitting cloak cap. So in these few sentences, I wanted to stress the fact that they're at a station, right? It actually seems that Holmes was in a hurry because the narrator has just arrived at the station, and then Holmes seems to be going up and down to perhaps even greet the narrator. So the answer would probably be B, because of the context of the situation, because they're in a station, they're going to meet somebody. Something like C, he was deep in thought. We would consider pacing like deep in thought, like in circles, rather than going up and down. So there's reasons, and then there's also just the fact that we're in a train station. Anyway, that's it for today. I hope you guys can understand the comprehension part of these questions, particularly the part where we have to take the text on a literal sense. Please keep this in mind in your future tests, and have a great holiday and week for those of you who are already leaving. And yeah, see you guys later. Bye!